This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has movies. So many movies. The movies you've seen 1,000 times and could watch 1,000 more. Iconic movies your friends can't believe you haven't seen. New movies, classic movies, new takes on classic movies. So whether you're into Top Gun or The Naked Gun, Mean Girls or Mission Impossible, Smurfs or Sonic the Hedgehog, there's a mountain of movies to discover on Paramount Plus. Start streaming today.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, interesting developments coming in the New York City mayor's race. And of course, the entire country is watching to see, will a Democratic Socialist who is anti-Jewish, anti-police, anti-Italian, anti a lot of things get elected to be the mayor of the biggest city in America? Hopefully not, guys. And here are some new details just coming in. The New York City mayoral frontrunner, Zohran Mamdani, was hit with 2 criminal referrals just a few hours ago, filed by a campaign finance watchdog group accusing him of accepting illegal contributions from foreign donors. Of course, that is a no-no. Now, thousands upon thousands of contributions from at least 170 donors with addresses outside the U.S., including one from his mother-in-law in Dubai, apparently went into his campaign. And what makes it interesting is one of the finance experts tied to this says these are not isolated incidents or clerical errors, and that apparently they had mentioned to him that they were watching this, that they put the Mamdani campaign on notice for months, that it was accepting illegal foreign contributions, and yet the quote is they did nothing meaningful to stop it. So even after repeated warnings, they continued to accept foreign donations. That's the allegation tonight. That is a biggie if indeed now there are criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Of course, there's many layers to this. Did he knowingly accept those foreign donations? Did people in his campaign knowingly accept those donations? Clearly, it sounds like they were put on notice and they continued to receive foreign funds. That is a big deal. And especially if it turns out that he was aware of it and also individuals close to him, that could put them all in a lot of legal jeopardy. And right now, the referrals are all the way up to the Department of Justice. And of course, we'll wait to see what the DOJ says about this, because this is a big, big deal. And of course, the president of the United States has been following this race closely. He's come out and said that, he's not a fan of Andrew Cuomo, but he'll pick a Democrat over a socialist. He clearly wants to save New York City. And we talked about this. Robert, I remember, who calls into the show. Robert, you're great. You do a lot of research. And it's interesting because this may be the big fish. A lot of times, if it turns out that they knowingly accepted it, this could be a serious offense, especially if it's someone on the campaign who's close to him, or indeed the candidate himself. Obviously, you are not allowed to accept foreign funds. That is illegal in the United States. And often when you start investigations like this is for $13,000 in contributions. He got a lot of money that came into his campaign. He was like 1% and not really well known. Remember, he wasn't even there for 80% of the time in the assembly. Very unremarkable, unaccomplished assemblyman in New York. Not well known, didn't even push a bill. I mean, very unremarkable. And yet suddenly he skyrocketed. He got a lot of money, and he skyrocketed enough to beat the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, in the primary. So this may open the floodgates. Maybe there's a lot more money than this amount. Obviously, all it takes is one or two illegal contributions. And again, knowingly or not doing the blockades, if you will, the checks that you're supposed to do, especially if you're put on notice. And it's it's campaign 101 that you're only allowed to accept American donations. So everybody, we will keep you posted on that. Also, big news just coming in just another few minutes ago. It's a busy night here on the Rita Cosby Show. The firebrand Republican New York City councilwoman who is close to Curtis Sliwa says that she is now going to back Andrew Cuomo over Sliwa because she said we must beat Zohran Mamdani. I'm talking about Ina Vernikov. We've had Ina on the show. We've had her at a couple different panels and so forth. She is a very feisty conservative councilwoman. She regularly stumped for Curtis Sliwa of the Guardian Angels, and now she's saying that he's too much of a long shot. Even though he's been a loyal friend, she said she must save New York, that New York is in utter danger, and this guy, Zohran Mamdani, cannot be elected, and she sees the path as endorsing Andrew Cuomo. Also, a little bit ago, Governor David Paterson, very beloved Democratic governor in New York State, also endorsed Andrew Cuomo. They've had sort of a on-off relationship over the years, but he feels he is absolutely the best person to beat Mamdani, and he understands how big the stakes are. So this race is really shaping up, guys. It is only now a week until Election Day. I cannot believe it. The polls are tightening. And Andrew Cuomo is now within 10 points of the frontrunner, which is still Zohran Mamdani. But we're learning more and more about Zohran Mamdani, not just some of the money coming into him, but we're also noting a little more about his background and his hatred towards the NYPD. Remember, he called them racist and he called them anti-queer. That was just the tip of the iceberg. And he always kind of comes back to, well, I was young and I was growing and I was trying to figure myself out. I say that as hogwash because it is clear that he was an adult when he was making these statements, many of them in 2020, 2021. It's not like he was in diapers in 2020 and 2021. He's 34 years old, so do the math. He's an adult. He knows what he's saying, and he said it over and over and over again. And there's a lot of details on that. We're going to talk about that shortly. But let's play this new audio tape because this new video surfaced, and it is of Mamdani, not 20 years ago, Zohran. Sorry, I don't care what you're trying to spin. This was in 2023. So 2 years ago, Zohran. Remember, it's not like 2020 or 2021 is a lifetime, but 2023 is a blink of an eye. All right, so 2023, 2 years ago, Zohran Mamdani is the keynote speaker at the Democratic Socialist Convention. The keynote, not some like guy in the audience, the keynote speaker, a proud keynote speaker. And listen to what he had to say about the NYPD. He threw in some vile comments about the NYPD to a very happy crowd there at the Democratic Socialist Convention. And then, of course, he threw in IDF, which is the Israeli Defense Forces, blaming them as well. So he got two of the things that he seems to hate the most, the police and also Israel, all lumped into one of his statements. And everybody's talking about this tonight. Listen to the audio. This is Zohran Mamdani 2 years ago, the man who was trying to be mayor of New York City. I say he should try to be mayor of Gaza. That is a better fit. Listen to this.
You know, I think in the first question, there is this setting up of a context where this idea of hyper-local and international. And I think that for anyone to care about these issues, we have to make them hyperlocal. We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Right? We have to make, not specifically that example all the time, but just to say that for working class people who have very little time, who have so many stresses, who are under so many pressures, there isn't that much time for symbolism. We have to make it materially connected to their life. And I think that what opportunity we have is that we are in a country where those connections abound. especially in New York City, you have so many opportunities to make clear the ways in which that struggle over there is tied to capital's interest over here.
So you just heard him there talking about the boot of the NYPD around your neck. And he said they were laced by the IDF. What a vile, vile comment. And again, just 2 years ago from Zohran Mamdani, who would lead the biggest police force in the United States. I want to also couple that with the comment that he made. This is cut 11, and this is when he was talking about his auntie. It turns out it's not an aunt. It's like a distant cousin. It's his father's cousin. And somehow he kind of confused the story. But this is when he talked about 9/11. And he says, I guess the real victim was that somebody gave his aunt a bad look on the subway, that was the real tragedy of 9/11. Here it is.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
I still find that comment so repulsive because he gets emotional. He gets emotional over an aunt that I guess felt uncomfortable in her hijab on the subway. Turns out his aunt lived in Tanzania and never wore a hijab, wasn't in the United States around 9/11 or anytime soon after. But there was a distant cousin who I guess he says, that's what I really meant. So he can't even keep his story straight. And he's emotional about his aunt, not emotional about the people that were in the Twin Towers. So here's a little more, because he seems to think that the real victims of 9/11 are Muslim community. And he says it's Islamophobia. That's the worst thing that happened on 9/11. I can think of a lot worse things.
It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment that has grown so endemic in our city that when we hear it, we know not whether the words were spoken by a Republican or a Democrat. We know only that it was spoken in the language of politics of this city. In an era of ever diminishing bipartisanship, it seems that Islamophobia has emerged as one of the few areas of agreement.
And then he kind of made a threat to New Yorkers like, I'm not going anywhere. This was supposed to be some tender, emotional moment. This is supposed to be some, oh boy, my poor auntie, who again doesn't even exist. And yet, then he said, no longer will we hide. In other words, this guy gets into the mayor's office. Buckle up, boys and girls. Here it is.
In doing this, I have told the wide-eyed young child in Jackson Heights or the first-time voter in Parkchester that they too should remain in the shadows. In many ways, I have become that same uncle who pulled me aside 6 years ago. No more.
No more. If that doesn't send a chill down your spine, no more. Wow. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Judith in Brooklyn on line 5. Go ahead, Judith. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi. I want to say, bottom line, okay, for all the people that love Curtis, and I love Curtis too, and I gave twice his campaign, but it's not about Curtis at this point. It's about defeating Mamdani and whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
And right now,
by the way, Judith, 100%. I have said to people, and I just say, I never tell people necessarily, okay, who you got to vote for. All I will say is, I will pick a non-terrorist sympathizer over a terrorist sympathizer. And I never thought that was the choice. That is the choice for New York. We have someone who I think is the most dangerous politician of my lifetime, who is 1 week away from potentially and likely winning this mayor's race if people don't get out and vote for the person who can clearly at least give him a run for his money. That is the bottom line.
Exactly right. And it looks like Cuomo does have a chance, but he has a better chance if all the people that want to vote for Curtis the way I wanted to have to use their minds, their heads. They have to use logic and not their heart. It's not about how you feel. You're not backstabbing Curtis, I'm sorry to say. You're actually, let me tell you something. Curtis has been a guardian angel for 40 years, and he's been protecting New Yorkers for all those 40 years. And now the funny part is he wants to throw us now, all the New Yorkers, under the bus, I'm sorry to say. This is not the time to play ego and play whatever, I don't know. This is now a time to save New York. So if he doesn't want to back out, please, people, I'm asking you, vote for Cuomo. Hold your nose if you want to, but because you're saving New York. We have children. We have grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It's the future. Let me tell you, we're up. It used to be Cuomo, Adams, and Curtis Flevel, right? No. Right now, in the 11th hour, it changed. The whole thing changed. Now we've got some guy called, I call him the Mamdani machine. Why? He's groomed. If you take a look at the article I read the other day, which I'm sure maybe you did too, this guy has Linda Sisora with him, grooming him for years.
Yes.
He's been working since 2012. Look, we're at 2024, 25. Look where he has come. He sits there and hugs and kisses all the imams, like the guy in Bensonhurst over here, which I don't know what he's doing in this country. He's the guy that was connected to the 93 World Trade Center bombing. He's the one that says you don't go into American politics for American politics. You go into politics so you can, for the cause of Islam. He's also saying you need 10,000 men in the city. People wake up.
By the way, not just 10,000 men. He called for a jihad with the 10,000 men of New York City. And this is who he's palling around with. He also had Judith Hassan Piker. Let's not forget about that guy, too. And he just was at his rally the other day. That's the guy who said 9/11. America deserved 9/11. Judith, I agree. This is not a normal election. This is a crisis. And if this guy gets in, it may be irreparable. That's why it is imperative. Whoever can stop him at the voting booth, that's the way to do it. I'll take a non-terrorist over a terrorist sympathizer. That is the bottom line. Judith, thank you very much. This is such an important election. Everybody get out and vote. We'll continue after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana. Hey friends, this is Audie Cornish, host of CNN This Morning and The Assignment, and guess what? Every story you care about, every angle you want unpacked is now streaming on CNN. That means you can catch my show or other CNN programming whenever you want on your favorite device. And a subscription also gets you access to exclusive video series and unlimited articles. So subscribe to CNN at cnn.com/subscription.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And just coming in just now, some of the new numbers in early voting in New York City. The New York Board of Elections reporting that the day for early voting is complete. That continues until Sunday. And so far, almost 300,000 people have voted. 297,718 is the count that they have, with the biggest amount of votes coming in Manhattan and Brooklyn, then in Queens, then the Bronx, and then Staten Island. We'll have some more details coming up after the break. But on the last count, a whole bunch of them were 55 years old or older, which could be good news for Cuomo.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Seattle, Washington, where police officers rushed to save a man who apparently had accidentally set himself on fire in an alleyway early one morning. Officers spotted a man who was totally engulfed in flames running through a nearby alleyway. They shouted, "Stop, drop and roll." Yet the man continued running, and he was flapping his arms around his body and his head, clearly panicking. The officers ran towards the man and used a fire extinguisher. The officers were able to put the fire out as the man collapsed to the ground. Then he was taken to a nearby hospital with second-degree burns covering his body. Upon review of the footage, officers collected from a nearby building, it revealed that the man had fallen asleep next to a makeshift fire, which had rapidly spread to his clothing, engulfing him in flames. Thankfully, to the very quick actions of the officers, they were able to save his life. He remains in critical condition, but is expected to survive, thanks to the great men and women in blue. Well, we are talking about Zohran Mamdani because, of course, the New York City mayor's race is just 1 week away. And Zohran Mamdani says, no, I never said defund the police. Let me just read a few of his own words. These are text messages and tweets that he has sent in the past. Here's one of the tweets. "We want to defund the police." I'd say that's pretty clear. Another one, defund the Haram police. Queer liberation means defund the police. Another one, I'm reading them over and over again. "We need to defund the police. Get them out of matters that they have no business in. About the police, defund and dismantle." Another, "What we need is defund the NYPD." I would say this is pretty damn clear, and this is disgusting. This man is running for mayor of New York. Voters, wake up. And here is Bill O'Reilly's assessment of people who vote for Zohran Mamdani. Right now, he's leading in the polls. But let's hope that Andrew Cuomo, that anybody can overtake him in the polls. Here is Bill O'Reilly's assessment of the voters of the Democratic Socialist.
So they're going in with an edge that the police are racist. That's the underlying theme of Mamdani, and he's actually said it. The police force of New York City is racist. I don't know, people, I said this very early on. You vote for Mamdani, that's an evil act. Mm-hmm. I wrote Confronting Evil. You guys know all about the book. You're not evil. I would never say that you're evil if you vote for that man. But what you're doing, giving this guy power so more people will die, is an evil act.
Well said from my friend Bill O'Reilly. If you vote for Zohran Mamdani, that is an evil act, because he is telegraphing what he is going to do. By the way, as you know, he is a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America. It came out in the last New York City mayoral debate that he pledges to them X amount of his salary. It's almost like a cult, attends meetings regularly with them and pledges to their agenda. And their agenda is defund the police, open up the jail cells, decarceration. I would say all of those things are extraordinarily dangerous. And now there's a new video that was just released by a group called the Canary Mission. And it captures the Democratic Socialists of America expressing hatred for the Democratic Party. Remember, they're a little different than the Democratic Party. They're not true Democrats. Andrew Cuomo is a Democrat. He's been a lifelong Democrat. He's a traditional Democrat compared to these loony people. And so the Democrat Socialists of America, they're calling for an insurrection to seize control of the party. And the footage surfaces. It essentially says that here are the strategies for infiltrating the democratic structures and for advancing policies like police abolition and decolonization. I mean, abolition of police. You want to live in a world like that where abolition of police. That's defund police on steroids. And so that is the mission of people like Zohran Mamdani, and there are many others along with him. But if he succeeds, it will open the floodgates across America. And earlier today, Ray Kelly, who, of course, was a great New York City police commissioner, he came out and he endorsed Andrew Cuomo, saying that it is clear. He said, you have to vote for Andrew Cuomo to have any shot, any chance to defeat Zohran Mamdani. It is common sense now. You have to be on the smart side at this time, given everything that is happening with the defund the police movement tied to Zohran Mamdani. Again, from former NYPD Commissioner Ray Kelly. And also on Katz and Cosby, we also talked to Bill Bratton, another former NYPD commissioner. And he said if Mamdani gets into office, there will be an exodus of the NYPD like you have never, ever seen. Here's Bill Bratton.
The department is down significantly in strength. It's down about 33,000. I had 37,000 when I was police commissioner back in 2014. Just think what Jesse Tisch could have done with 3,000 more cops. But on top of that, what the force is now made up of is an awful lot of younger officers with very limited experience, where the more seasoned veterans are bailing out, and it's understandable why. There's a number of factors at play. One being that they just don't feel that this fellow, if he's elected mayor, is going to have their interests at heart. He doesn't like cops. Is that clear?
And let's go to your calls, you guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Robin in Brooklyn on line 3. Go ahead, Robin.
Hi, Rita. I believe we have a really good chance of beating Jihad Zohran Mamdani if we sit together and vote for Cuomo. I feel exactly like Judith. You know, I think about 9/11 all the time. I'm a survivor. So many heroes died to save lives on that day. And the men working on the pile, so many of them have died of 9/11-related illnesses. They're still dying. And this Mamdani, he's spitting on them. He's spitting on us. So I'm from Canarsie, Brooklyn. And it just makes my blood boil. And really the reason I'm calling tonight is really just to speak to the Curtis voters. I believe it's really decadent to waste your vote on Curtis Sliwa at a time like this. I think it's really time to stop blaming Andrew Cuomo for COVID deaths. And, you know, we have to unite. After 9/11, New Yorkers stood together. We grieved together. We worked together. We had to adapt. We have to change. And we're the ones who are going to suffer if that monster Jihad Zoe becomes the mayor. Don't let it happen. We got to vote for Cuomo. That's what I have to say. I feel so passionate about it.
Well, and Robin, you look at the numbers. I mean, the numbers, all the different polls that I have seen clearly show that Andrew Cuomo has, in most polls, double, if not more than what Curtis has. And if this was a normal election, I'd say everybody have at it, you know, or even like maybe after one of the debates. I was curious to see would there be a change in the structure after one of the debates. And the debate seemed to have helped Cuomo. And it seems like Mamdani, the good news is sort of hit a peak. It looks like he can't break 44, 45, 43%. He can, most of the polls, he's sort of all in that range. So it looks like he stays or drops a little. Cuomo definitely has gone up. He also got the official endorsement of Eric Adams. I think that helped him a bit too as well. And he did well in the debate, no doubt about it. He focused on Mamdani. That's the threat to New York. It is an existential threat. I feel the same way you do, Robin. I was not there, at the Twin Towers, but I had friends who died that day, Robin. And so I feel very personal. And covered so much of it. So for me, we are dealing with a threat to New York like we have never seen. And I just told you what the plan of the Democratic Socialists of America is. They're going to get their teeth into New York and they're going to keep on going. And this is not going to be the end of Mamdani or anybody else. But if you can stop him in his tracks right now, maybe you can reverse course. If you don't, you might as well just kiss New York and America maybe goodbye. That's what is at stake. It is so serious. And the sad thing is, Robin, and you understand this in New York, there's no backstop. Sometimes you have, the backstop of the city council or the governor's office. In this case, they're all folding like cheap suits. And many of the people in the city council agree with Zohran Mamdani. Kathy Hochul, the governor, folded like a cheap suit, and she endorsed him even though he didn't endorse her yet. So darn well he's going to say, oh, I'll endorse you if you agree to raise taxes, if you agree to let me do all these crazy things that I want to do. Other than that, see ya, I'll primary you. I mean, it's a no prisoners approach that they have with even people in their own party. And then you got Hakeem Jeffries, who just folded like a cheap suit and just supported. And shame on him and Kathy Hochul and others. They know that this guy is an anti-Semite, anti-police politician, and yet they are endorsing him. And they know better. And to me, that's pathetic. But the reality is there will be no backstop. This guy is going to have a full agenda. And what scares me, Robin, is why this is so serious. And now it is a 5-alarm fire. We are a week away now from Election Day. We're less because at this point, the polls will have closed on election night. So we're talking now less than a week. And if people don't get out and vote for someone who is not a terrorist sympathizer, I encourage people, literally, that's all that matters. If somebody said to you, I could stop the worst person in the world, would you do it? The answer is yes. And that's all you have to do. You have to hold your nose and pick somebody who you believe will win and who's not a terrorist sympathizer. Because certainly the guy who's number one, I believe firmly is. And I believe he is a clear and present danger to New York and to America. And the more I hear of this guy, the more frightened I am. And there was a story that just came out a little bit ago. Speaking of the Democratic Socialists of America, they had an event not too long ago. Guess who they didn't let in? They didn't let in a Jewish reporter when they found out the reporter was Jewish. Is that the kind of world we're going to live in, where they're not going to allow a Jewish reporter? Mamdani doesn't like Italians. So what? He's not going to have an Italian, somebody of Italian descent is not worthy to be in his presence. A Jew is not available to ask a question of His Highness Zohran Mamdani. I mean, this is scary. This reminds me, I hate to say it, I'm just going to say it. It reminds me of what my father grew up in. My father grew up right outside the Warsaw Ghetto. This reminds me of what you heard in the early days in the 1930s. This is where they wouldn't allow the Jews to do this. They wouldn't allow the Jews to do that. And this guy now saying he wants to defund police, open up the jails, hates Jews. And you're going to pick him for the city that has the biggest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel? Shame on New York. Robin, your thoughts tonight. I'm sorry, I am fired up because I'm worried. And this guy, if you look at the polls, tonight he would win. Guess what? There are still 6 days. So let's hope, let's pray for a miracle in the next 6 days, Robin. And yes, it looks like Cuomo is getting a lot of momentum. You may not like him. You may think, okay, he made a lot of, serious mistakes. But I've never thought he was a terrorist sympathizer. And that to me, sadly, is a criteria. And that may be the only criteria that matters at this moment right now when you're dealing with an existential threat to New York and America. Robin, your thoughts tonight.
Absolutely, Rita. I agree with absolutely everything you said. This is incredibly frightening. As a Jew, as a Jew who's lost so much family, murdered in Europe, I mean, this is crazy. I'm pushing everyone in my synagogue. I'm pushing everyone I know to go out and vote. People are being passive. This is no time to do that.
By the way, Robin, I'm glad you brought up the synagogue. These synagogues got to get out there. All these rabbis and all the different members of the different synagogues, they got to get out there. They got to get out there and say, do not vote for this person. Do campaigns of voting in their synagogue, in the temples. They better start because time is of the essence, right?
Yeah, time is ticking. I belong to an Orthodox synagogue, to a Chabad synagogue, and they got to get up and out. Forget God's not enough. It's not enough to pray to God.
Well,
I'm
encouraging everybody out there, including you, Robin, please talk to your rabbi. Get him to get engaged. because if there's ever a group that I feel is on the line, it is the Jewish group, sadly, with this guy. That and the NYPD clearly seem to be a big part of his venom. And he's telegraphing what he will do. And it's disgraceful. And that's why I hope you got to tell your rabbi, you got to tell friends to tell their rabbi, and they got to start announcing it to the synagogue. Imagine if 99% of the synagogues in New York City voted for someone other than Mamdani. I bet you he would lose. So let's do the right thing by New York. Do the right thing by New York. Robin, thank you very much. I love your passion, and thank you for calling in. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue with your calls after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated weed whacker guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength, Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with this plight?
Aha!
Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at Canva.com.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue your calls here. 1-800-848-9222. This is Rita Cosby. Let's go to Jay in New Jersey on line 4. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, hey, Rita. You know, about Zohran Mamdani lying about his aunt being at, after 9/11 in New York City. People are all piling on him for lying, and I don't want to be getting saying anything that I shouldn't be saying, but we know that Ilhan Omar did marry her brother, so I believe if both his parents and his grandparents had married each other, his mother would be his aunt and his first cousin once removed simultaneously, so it wouldn't be that far off now, would it?
Well, and listen, I've kind of given him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on whether it's his aunt. Like he even says, this is what he says. I don't know of the whole, his family tree. But what I will say is when he was called out about, was this your aunt? Because apparently he has one aunt that lives in Tanzania and wasn't in the country at the time. And when he was approached by it, he said, oh, I meant to say it was my father's cousin. I'm more offended, not necessarily was it an aunt or a father's cousin or whoever. I'm talking more obviously about the content, because boy, is the content deeply concerning. Aren't you concerned that the first sort of emotion that I have seen from this guy and related to 9/11, which is such a deeply emotional, deeply horrible period in America, and the attack on America, we will never ever forget and never should forget. And yet his attachment to 9/11 is a distant aunt that felt somebody gave her a dirty look on the subway. I'm sorry, that to me pales in comparison, obviously, to what really happened on 9/11. Though, like his aunt's the victim, And I didn't hear one word in those comments about, I pray for the souls of those people who died on 9/11. What happened to them was terrible. We should never have that happen again. Where was that in the speech, Jay? Somehow he left it out. So that to me speaks volumes. I mean, that's like me saying, somebody gave me a dirty look on 9/11 and boy, that was a bad day. You know what? If you got away with a bad look on 9/11, that's the least of it. Are you kidding me? Don't you agree, Jay? What he said was reprehensible. What he omitted speaks volumes. And that says who he really is. Because that's what he's speaking from the heart. I believe he's speaking honestly, because that to him was the sad part of 9/11. Some distant relative getting a dirty look on a subway. Do you think that that's what happened on 9/11, that's how it should be remembered? That's disgraceful.
Yeah, absolutely, Rita. And we have to remember, Zohran Mamdani's best friend is Hassan Piker, who said that America deserved 9/11. And when this guy hangs out with Hassan Piker and Wahaj, or whatever his name is, the co-conspirator in the 93 bombing, Zohran Mamdani, as Sid Rosenberg rightly has said, would cheer 9/11 if it would happen today, God forbid. And to have a mayor 25 years after 9/11, effectively cheering the deaths of 3,000 people and making the tragedy all about his family, which you rightly pointed out is a fictitious story.
I agree. It shows his priorities, and it shows to me he is not qualified. He's not worthy to hold office anywhere in America, let alone New York.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?